Hi, it's me. No. 3 is a mysterious mound hidden deep in the forests of Wisconsin, and this place has been called the Great Mound because it is simply huge. It spans over 6 acres and was built at least 1,000 years before Christ, because new research suggests that this strange site could be much more than just a burial ground or a ceremonial center. In fact, evidence suggests that humans lived in the area as early as 8,000 BC, when the glaciers began to retreat and plants and animals started to return. Over the centuries, many different tribes flourished here, including the Hopewell culture, who built large ceremonial centers and burial mounds across what is today the Midwestern United States. Even more fascinating is that each little mound was designed to align with the cardinal directions, meaning that they all face true north, south, east, and west. Each of these 4 gates leads to one of the smaller mounds, which were likely used for burials, and according to legend, each mound may have once been topped with a wooden replica of a different animal, with the larger central mound representing the head and the 4 corners representing the legs of the giant turtle. One of the most impressive of these sites is Aztalan, also known as the Great Mound. By that time, most of the mounds had been plowed over and some of them were covered in farm fields, but enough of the site remained intact for researchers to start mapping it out. They discovered that the central mound alone contained nearly 1 million cubic feet of dirt, which was about equal to the amount of dirt that would be removed if a 100-foot wide trench were dug around the entire structure. So far, they've only been able to explore a small portion of the site, but they're hoping to expand their investigations soon. As they continue their work, they'll be on the lookout for anything unusual, such as voids or cavities that could indicate the presence of a hidden structure. If they do find something promising, they'll dig a few test holes and then use ground-penetrating radar to get a better idea of what is down there. The archaeologists couldn't figure out how the ancient people had moved so much earth without using advanced equipment. Nobody knows exactly how many people lived in North America before Christopher Columbus arrived, but some historians estimate that the population could have been as high as 100 million. What's your favorite thing about ancient civilizations? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye. Sadly, most of those people are gone today, and their civilizations have been lost to history. But thankfully, archaeologists are working hard to uncover the truth about places like Aztalan, so that future generations will never forget what came before. And so they concluded that it must have taken hundreds of thousands of people working together over several generations to build it. That would make Aztalan at least 2,000 years old, and it could be even older, but they think it may have served as a sort of ceremonial center. Some researchers think that the mound may have once been a burial ground, while others think it was used for religious ceremonies or as a platform for a temple. Still others think it may have been part of an ancient road system that connected the Great Lakes to the Mississippi River. And some archaeologists even believe that the site may have been the location of the legendary walled city of Mound, which is said to have been founded by the Mississippian tribe around 1000 AD according to legend. The city was palisaded and protected by warriors, but in 1769, it was attacked and destroyed by rival Native Americans. Today, there are conflicting reports about whether or not the city ever really existed, and if it did, nobody knows exactly where it was. But some historians think it may have been right here at Aztalan. In fact, it wasn't until 1836 that the first non-Native American is believed to have stumbled upon the site. Legend says that the city could only be accessed through a single secret passageway that led directly to the chief's palace. And so, unless archaeologists are able to locate that tunnel, they may never truly understand how this ancient civilization worked. Luckily, however, science may be advancing quickly as new research suggests that the entrance to the city may have finally been discovered. But after noticing that the site was shaped like a turtle, he decided that it must have been made by Native Americans. Jones stayed in the area for several months while he explored the region, and during that time, he and his friends dug up several artifacts, including axes, arrowheads, pottery, and stone tools. But no one really cared about any of that stuff back then, and so they just sold it to collectors and antique dealers. Most of those items have since been lost to history, although a few can still be found in museums across the Midwest. His name was Jefferson M. Jones, and he was traveling from Minnesota to Chicago when he got lost in the woods. He wandered around in the forest for days without finding anybody, and then, suddenly, he came across this huge mound. He described it as being similar to a flat-topped pyramid, and although it was covered in grass, he could tell that it had been man-made. But despite its age, there's very little left to see at the site today. The mounds are barely visible from a distance, and what once may have been a sacred place has instead turned into a popular spot for picnicking families and kids playing frisbee. To find out more, let's take a trip back to ancient times. The first is a massive earthen mound in the shape of a turtle, which is surrounded by 40 smaller mounds that are arranged in concentric circles. The larger mound is almost 70 feet high and measures 400 feet from north to south and 280 feet from east to west. All told, it covers an area of about 45 acres and contains somewhere between 800 and 1,000 cubic feet of dirt. If that sounds like a lot, that's because it is. In fact, aside from the pyramids of ancient Egypt, the Great Mound at Aztalan is the largest man-made structure in the world. But what people are most fascinated with is that all around it are these small mounds, which together form the shape of a giant turtle. This ancient site is believed to be one of the largest earthworks in the USA, and some archaeologists believe it may have once been home to a secret walled city. And now, for the first time ever, scientists may finally be revealing the secrets of this forgotten city. Thousands of years ago, long before Christopher Columbus ever set foot in North America, the land that would become known as Wisconsin was already inhabited by indigenous peoples. Located near the modern town of Lake Mills, Aztalan spans over 6 acres and consists of 2 main parts. But that's not all. Archaeologists have discovered that the smaller mounds surrounding the big one were carefully arranged to match the shape of a giant turtle. Today, we don't know for sure how old the site is, but evidence suggests that the earliest signs of human activity here date back to around 1000 BC for most of history. Nobody knew exactly where the walled city was. At first, he thought that it might have been built by the mound builders, which was a term used by 19th-century Americans to refer to the various indigenous cultures that had thrived in the Mississippi Valley. But it wasn't until 1938 that archaeologists started to take Aztalan seriously. So far, archaeologists have only found a few artifacts on the site itself, which means that we don't really know what happened there. One of the biggest hurdles standing in the way of progress at the site is that nobody knows exactly where the entrance to the walled city is. According to a recent report, archaeologists are using special cameras to scan the mounds and look for buried tunnels. Nobody knows what secrets Aztalan is hiding, but the truth is that there are plenty of ancient ruins hidden beneath our feet across the USA. Thanks for watching.